Welcome back to The Morning Blend. A new survey shows that the trick to a happy relationship is good communication. Yeah. Get this, 65% of couples who got a divorce blamed communication problems for the split. A lot of people are going to think it's sex and money, things like that. All right, number 2 on the list, not being able to resolve conflict. So today, how to talk to your partner in productive and more effective ways.
Yes, all good information. Dr. John Duffy is a clinical psychologist who specializes in parenting, families, and relationships. He's also a best-selling author, speaker, and a podcaster.
He does it all.
I know, exactly. And he's got a very long intro because he does it all. He does it all.
Yes.
This is a great topic, though, because communication, I mean, that's what we all talk. You need to be able to talk. And what is the big problem for couples?
It's huge, and couples too often, we get in ruts and we stop communicating effectively. And so we'll talk about the mundane, we'll talk about the everyday, but we won't talk about what our hopes are, what our dreams are, what we want in our lives. And so resentment starts to fester and to grow, or just separation and a lack of interest. So it's really important to communicate as if you're dating on an ongoing basis.
People say that, relationship experts will throw that out there, and I think people are going to hear that and they're going to be like, oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
We're going to, I don't even want to say hi. I can't stand the look of them, or I can't stand her face.
Right.
Because she's always.
Why'd you look at me just then? No, I know what you're saying, though. It's hard to get in that dating mode again.
Yeah, and in communication.
It is.
They say men complain that women they nag and that they complain.
Right.
And women say that the men in their lives don't validate their feelings or their opinions.
So this is what we do. We focus on these negatives, right, in our partner. Instead of thinking back to what drew me to this person in the first place. And believe me, I know you guys are right. There are eyes rolling out there for sure. But the truth is, we focus on the negatives, and when we do that, we draw more of that to ourselves. It's all we think about, and then we resent going home at the end of the day. So we don't look forward to going home to the person we decided, I want to spend a lot of the rest of my life with this person. Instead, we resent them and we avoid them. And even when we're home, sometimes we avoid each other. We'll look at phones instead of looking at each other, or we'll say, what time's the soccer game? Okay, good, and then we'll move on.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I've heard that couples sometimes, like, amount of time that you actually spend talking is 10 minutes for the whole week. Like, you just don't even talk at all. So what do we do to break the rut?
Yeah. So at some point, this is something my wife and I actually stumbled upon recently. At some point, you have to face one another. So we do a podcast together. So we happen to sit across from one another when we make this podcast, and we realize, wow, we don't do this very often, where we just look each other in the eye and we talk about ideas that have nothing to do with, like, taking care of the house or taking care of the kids. It's just like we're talking about ideas. So that's how you get back in that kind of like dating mode, which people can do. I encourage people to do this all the time, is to just protect a little time, because it doesn't take much. We live moment to moment, right, these days. You know, we're not going to get hours of time, but we might get a few minutes to connect, and those few minutes can really carry a relationship.
Do you feel a relationship can recover from resentment?
Yeah, I do. But I think it takes a ton of work, because you have to put your own ego and your own judgment and your own fears on the back burner and reconfigure the way you communicate overtly and consciously. And you have to be really clear that that's what you're going to do. And you're not just going to focus on what's not working. You're going to focus at least a little bit on what's working.
You mentioned this face-to-face communication and actually sitting across from each other sharing ideas.
Yeah.
But there are going to be people who say, I feel unfulfilled. I'm experiencing conflict.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're not experiencing conflict, they're experiencing the avoidance that you're talking about. What's something they can do tonight? What's something they can do on their phone or via text? Or to get this started? Because I think very often one person might say, yeah, I want to work on this.
Yeah.
It takes two.
It does.
But you can't always expect that both people are going to be on the same page to try to make it work better in this moment.
Absolutely. So there's a couple things. One is meta-communicate about your relationship. In other words, take a beat and tell your partner, this is how I'm feeling about how we are. And that invites your partner to do the same. And sometimes that's bad news, but it gives you a starting place where you're on the same page. And if you need to, don't be afraid to seek out a therapist. I do a lot of couples work, and people are mortified to be there. They feel like they failed or something, instead of thinking, I'm using this tool that's at our disposal to work on a relationship.
Right. I always think it's like a coach in football or any sport.
Absolutely.
I mean, you don't go into something thinking that you're going to be excellent at it. So why do you think you're going to be great at communicating and having a great relationship when you can have a coach?
Right.
You know, just someone to talk you through it. What do you think about like the gratitude journals and starting to think about like all the positive things about that person?
So there's eyes rolling about the gratitude journals as well.
I guarantee it. I heard them.
Right? You can hear. You can literally hear them.
Back in the back of her head.
And yet, this is such a great idea, because we forget why we're in this relationship, because we focus on what's not working or the distance that we have between us. So to think about, what am I grateful for about this person, about this relationship? How does it strengthen me in my life? If we can focus on that for a moment or two each day, write down 1, 2, 3 things, tops, you will find that the vibe you bring to your one-to-one communication shifts enormously.
What I think is
idea.
interesting is why we decided to talk about this today. You suggested it to us.
Yeah.
And one of the things, because we so often talk about parenting,
right.
and a lot of the people that you see in your office are kids. They're
right.
teens going through a lot of difficult stuff, whether it's drugs or school or friendships, bullying, whatever. And they're saying what? They're saying my parents.
They're saying my parents aren't getting along. This is the biggest stressor in my life. And sometimes this is the driver of my academic problems, of my drug use, of, you know, so these things are related. So I work with more and more parents as time goes on for that reason.
What I think is funny is, as parents, we think we're fooling our kids or we're hiding something from them, but they pick up on that stuff.
Oh my God, kids are so savvy. Yes, they pick up on it. If you think you're hiding something for your kids, if you're staying together for your kids are onto you. They know.
That's a good question, though. This is a whole nother show, but should you stay together for your kids if it's not working?
It probably is a long discussion. My immediate bias is I'd prefer not.
Really?
I'd rather see a healthy, happy relationships modeled than staying together and forcing an issue.
See, and I lived through that because my parents got divorced my senior year in high school, and I know that was just like part of the thing,
Sure.
you know, write it on out.
Yeah.
It can be dangerous.
It can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really good stuff.
Yeah, good
So
information.
your podcast you're doing with your wife.
I'm doing it with my
You're
wife.
gonna sit
Yes.
across from her, do a little podcasting.
Yes.
All right, so if people go to drjohnduffy.com, it's better. You changed the name of it. It used to be Undo Anxiety. I like the positive twist on that. It's good. Podcasts, blogs, and a whole lot more if you go to drjohnduffy.com. I think you're fantastic.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks for being here.
Really good stuff.